Okay, so this is very exciting. Not only are we getting this mock draft underway, but we are also doing the giveaway for that $500 league that we are hosting on Patreon. Now, no, the league pot is not $500. The league pot is $6,000, and each team has a $500 buy-in. So we are going to be doing multiple drawings right now of everybody that entered this contest over there on Patreon. And based on how many people wanted to play in this league, I can guarantee you that we are going to have another $500 redraft league kicking off when we get closer to the season. So, of course, if you want to participate in that, just be on the lookout over there on Patreon for a new post. We'll probably do it when we get closer to 500, maybe 600. I don't know how many Flock Patreon members we're going to have by the time we get closer to the season because it is growing at a rapid rate. But anyway, before we do this drawing real quick, let me just get y'all the link for anybody wanting to join this mock draft. I can send it out over on Patreon right now. So let me grab that link so y'all don't have to leave YouTube, and we should be good to draw after that. Sending that in the live chat. And my God, we've been live for 1 minute now, and we already have over 20 likes in the live stream. Thank you so much for everybody coming out this early, dropping those likes. It makes a massive difference. And I say this all the time, but literally, there is no audience on YouTube that supports any channel as much as y'all support us. So obviously, I owe y'all a massive thank you for that. And also, I see that we are a little bit crooked here. Let me try to move that. Hopefully, that looks a little better. But anyway, let's kind of dive into this right now. Let me try to pull this up, move the Discord chat over. Okay, so what you're going to see here when we pull this up, this is how we decided to do the giveaway. So like we said, if you are a mother flocker over there on Patreon, you get double the entries into the giveaway compared to a flocker. So what we did is we took everybody that entered, we put them in a Google sheet just here. So if you entered to be in the free spot only giveaway and you are a part of the flocker tier, you should see your name once in this drawing here. But if you're a mother flocker like Austin right here, you see your name listed twice, and this number assigned next to your name is going to be the ticket or tickets that you have for this drawing. And we are going to be doing a random number generator over there on Google. So obviously I can't rig Google. It's not like I have any connections there or anything. And I just want to be completely transparent with how we're doing this, because me paying for someone to get into this $500 league obviously is a very big deal. I'm playing in this league myself. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we are going to be doing that live draft, I believe, next week. I believe it's either the 3rd, 4th, whatever. It's early July. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have your notifications on so you can come out and you can see that $500 draft live and tell me how stupid I am with some of my picks that I'm making. But also, we are doing a giveaway for the other 10 spots for people wanting to play in the league in general. And that is going to be the spots down here. So obviously, these people are still entered into the free giveaway as well, because if they're willing to put up a buy-in, I don't necessarily want to take them out of the free giveaway too. So the first drawing that we are going to be doing is we are going to be drawing with numbers 1 through 188. And that first spot is going to be the $500 free giveaway that I am paying your league buy-in. And then after that, we are going to do 10 more drawings, but that is only going to be tickets between 148 and 188. And those are going to be the people that are wanting to play in the league and willing to buy in for themselves. And obviously, I can't just do that. We are going to have, I believe, 2 or 3 replacement drawings. Let's just call it 3. That way I don't have to worry about it. Of course, we'll do it in order, so you know if you're replacement 1, replacement 2, replacement 3, if anybody can't pay the league dues or if anybody can't get into the draft. But let's come over here real quick. And what I'm going to do, just to make sure that everybody knows that this is 100% random, I think that is kind of obvious with it being Google, but please go to the live chat right now and give me a number 1 through 10. And that is going to be how many times I hit generate, and it doesn't count for the drawing, just so we kind of get to a random spot. The first time I see someone spamming a number 1 through 10, that's going to be the amount of times we hit generate where it doesn't count. And then after that, it will be counted. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that there's no way I can rig this on the back end. So yeah, I really need to make sure that this is completely transparent, because obviously $500 is a big deal and I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt. But anyway, let's pull up this chat right here. And so please go down there, guys. Okay, so the first one we got looks like from Lamar Gaming, 7. Okay, so what we're going to do here is with 7, we are going to generate 7 random times, and then we are going to start the drawing. Okay, so let me make sure we get this going correctly. I should probably... Okay, so 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, those were not the winners. Now, this is the official drawing right now. This next time I press this button is going to be for the official free spot in this league. And I'm not going to write down the names or anything. We can toggle over just to see who it is. Maybe I'll bold them. But anyway, here is the free spot. 136. So let's go figure out who that is. That is going to be Andy Robinson. Congrats, my man. We will bold and underline you for you to have that free spot. Now we are going to go over and we are going to do the drawing for the rest of the spots in this league. And this is going to be from the both categories. So let's change this from 148 to 188. That way we only get tickets between there. And we are going to do 10 drawings here. Okay, so 166 is going to be this next one. Let's go bold that. That is going to be Yield Fates, a motherflocker over there on Patreon. Thank you for your support, my dude. Now 153 is Hannah Ford, another motherfucker. Thank you. And let's go 177. That is going to be Richard Garcia. Now let's go 175, which is Scott Reese. And how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 6 more that we need to be doing. And I'm sorry, guys, just stick with me. I just want to make sure we're doing this on the live stream so everybody knows who got in for what reason. Okay, so 154. 154 is also Hannah Ford, but we're going to skip over that. We still have 6 more. Okay, so 176 is also Scott Reese. Okay, that is very weird. 183 is going to be Marcus Erickson. Okay, so it's, I believe we have 5 more drawings. Okay, 173. That is Derek Finn. 164 is going to be James Brock. 180 is going to be Glass Beaver. Now let me count this real quick just to make sure we're not going over. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we have 2 more because keep in mind we gave that free spot away up top, and also I am playing in the league myself. So 2 more drawings for the official invites. 168, that's going to be Tim Potter. Happy that you made it in, Tim. Someone who came out to the Flock meetup in Austin. Super happy you got in. Hopefully you're in the live chat right now. And then 161, I believe, is going to be our last spot. Jay in getting in here. Another guy, obviously, always in the chat, moderator of the channel. And this is why I wanted to make sure we were doing this live and random to make sure that if I put Jay in, y'all didn't think it was anything sketchy. Happy that you're in here as well. Another person who came out to the Flock meetup. But anyway, let's count this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so, and then we have the free one up top. And we all have myself as well. So we're going to do 3 replacements here. Just in case someone can't come through, let's do 3 replacements. Okay, so 184 is going to be the first alternate, just in case something happens. That's Marcus Harrison. He's already in regardless. So let's just do this again. 161 is going to be the first that's Jayan. Jayan's already in. Okay, so 182. Nate Conrad is going to be the first alternate we have here. Let's italicize that name. Then 179 is going to be the second alternate. That is Wesley Drake, another guy who came out to that Flock meetup. Okay, so last one is going to be 160. That's Jayan yet again, so we don't need to do that. 166 is Yield Fates, another guy that's already in. Now 160, that's Jayan again. 188 is Nick Anderson. Okay, perfect. So we have our 3 alternates. Now let's get this mock draft underway. Really hope that everybody understands how transparent this was and that y'all like this format. Please, if there's anything I can do better for a drawing next time, please let me know. And yeah, we are going to be doing this again later this offseason as the Flock continues to grow over there on Patreon. So again, thank you so much for everybody that's supporting the show. And let me know if you have any other ideas for giveaways. I have an idea depending on the traffic we see this football season. I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to order 100 Flock hats where it's just like a dad hat that has our logo, whether or not that's the little goose, whether or not that's the official logo of the channel. And then we are going to be doing giveaways almost every single day throughout the football season to see who is going to be coming away with those from the same list that we are getting on Patreon. But I have a lot of things in plan. Happy about that. Okay, so Bago coming out with the donation says, in the league, let's go, aka Derek. Okay, happy you made it out, my man. JN also with the dono saying Texas may have lost, but we're still catching dubs. Yes, sir. I mean, man, you got drawn like 4 times with the alternates included. So yeah, I'm happy that y'all made it in. My dudes, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Now let's switch this over here. Let me just make sure we are getting this mock draft link out to everybody who's shot us that DM over on Patreon wanting to get into the league. And then we should be able to start this very early on. Okay, so it looks like we had more than 11 people DMing us to get in this mock draft. So I'm going to send out an invite in order for the people that DM'd us over there on Patreon. But I'm sorry if you click on the invite and it's expired. You were just a little bit too late because I'm going to be sending it out to everybody right now because we've waited way too long to start this mock draft. I just wanted to make sure that we got done with that giveaway right at the very top. Okay, so let's get that out to Richard, Al Johnson, Nathan, and then we can switch this over. This is going to be a redraft 1 quarterback mock draft. And yeah, I think that should cover everything. This is not tight end premium. The starting lineup requirements are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Let's switch this over. Like I said, we already got out all those invites over there on Patreon, so we're just going to be waiting for those people to accept. It should probably only take about 15-20 seconds for them to claim their spots because I believe we sent over 11 invites. But of course, if they don't come in and claim these within the first 60 seconds or so, maybe they went through and left, we can send that out in the general chat. But over 60 likes on this live stream already, and we've been live for about 5 minutes now. So I'm assuming that y'all really enjoyed that giveaway. Please let me know your thoughts in the chat because we can definitely look to do it a different way if y'all want something else. But I think that it was very transparent how we did our little random thing at the very beginning to make sure that I don't even know how you would rig a Google thing. I mean, if someone can search how and let me know, that way we can try to use a different site in the future. Of course, let me know, but I just wanted to be completely transparent. Okay, so now let's go through. Marcus saying you should do an NFT, man. That is way over my head. I would have no idea how to even begin looking into that. But it looks like we have 3 people that are taking a little too long over there on Patreon. And because we've spent so much time and y'all have spammed this like button, we are going to be sending out that link in the general chat right now for y'all to take those last few spots. So, Will says link on Patreon. Yeah, I sent out all the links on Patreon a couple minutes ago. I just can't sit here and have everybody waiting for the mock draft. So we are going to send that in the live chat for everybody subscribed to the channel with those notifications on so we can get this going right away. And I'm going to be picking where we usually pick in these mock drafts. That's the 106, 107, 105, 108. Not necessarily because I love that range. More so, I just like being in the middle of the draft. That way we can constantly talk about what we are thinking with the value on the board. Okay, so Christian McCaffrey going at the 101. Saquon Barkley at the 102. That's going to be the first surprise in this mock draft. Now, I will say Saquon Barkley easily my 102 in a dynasty format, but because this is a redraft mock draft just for 2021 production, I think Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook is a little bit crazy here for myself. Now, I understand in a dynasty format, and I agree with you in a dynasty format, but given the fact that we are just hunting 2021 production, I think Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara have to be the 102, and I really can't consider taking Saquon Barkley there given the limited touch potential at the very beginning of the season because we have heard about the snap counts and also the offensive line play. But now when we are on the clock at the 106, just going to be making the easy selection of Derrick Henry. Now, who is Derrick Henry? Yes, we're going to be a little bit lower on him compared to consensus in Dynasty, but this is redraft. We're just hunting this season's production. Hopefully you see the efficiency bump up slightly with Julio Jones coming in and making teams not necessarily be able to just stack the box against the Tennessee Titans. So yeah, Derrick Henry at the 106. Now, Tyreek Hill, first wide receiver off the board at the 107. Now, that redraft mock draft, I can't talk right now. I'm just so flustered with that giveaway just happening. I've been waiting very long to do that. But anyway, the draft guide for 2021 fantasy leagues is going to be coming out, I believe, July 17th. That is the date I told the editor I want everything finished up. Of course, that's going to be found over there on Patreon. There we have our official redraft rankings for this upcoming season. And I can't get behind taking Tyreek Hill as early as the 107. I really want to be going with the running backs, just say like an Austin Eckler. I mean, those running backs that you were confident in building around in the middle of the first round. Maybe you decide to go with the Travis Kelce, understanding that he really gives you a positional edge that you're not going to find anywhere else. But I think Tyreek Hill, we have him down there at the 110. Regardless, I mean, you're seeing this as a very running back heavy draft to start it off. Eckler, Zeke, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, and Cam Akers all going off the board. Now, y'all know I am in love with Cam Akers. I mean, a player that here goes at the very end of the first round. I can see a world where Cam Akers is the running back one overall this season. Now, I know that's crazy. It's definitely going to take a Christian McCaffrey injury, given the target share Christian McCaffrey should most likely have. But if you look at the end of the season last year, if you look at the fact that Cam Akers was an elite level prospect coming out of college, combine that with the fact that this is an offense that should project to be top 5 in the NFL, given the upgrade at quarterback. I mean, I am all in on this Rams offense with Matthew Stafford, and that includes Cam Akers. Okay, so now let's see. Mark says, do you think Tua Tagovailoa has top 7 upside with his weapons? It's really going to come down to the rushing equity that we see with Tua. I believe Tua averaged about 15 rushing yards a game this past season, but we have to remember a lot of those games that Tua did play in, I mean, he was only playing a half at a time. I mean, then Ryan Fitzpatrick was coming in. So if you could see Tua bump up his rushing production to where he can hit, just say 25 rushing yards a game, then I think you can make the argument in the 90th percentile outcome where Tua is definitely a hit. In that scenario, yes, he can be a top 7 quarterback in fantasy, but from passing volume alone, I would find it very hard to believe that it could get there. So it's really going to depend on what his rushing equity is going to look like this upcoming season. But now it looks like we have, I don't even want to say that difficult of a decision here. So it would be down between, I'm looking at 2 running backs on this draft board right now. But the thing is, we do have Davante Adams falling all the way to the 207 for us. And now, obviously, it's a concern with Aaron Rodgers. And you don't necessarily know if Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay. And if Rodgers goes to Denver, if he goes to host Jeopardy, whatever the scenario is, then yes, Davante Adams is taking a significant hit. And I won't like the pick here at the 207. But based on the historical research that we just got done with over there on that draft guide, I mean, Davante Adams has the upside to be a complete league winner this upcoming season in the case Aaron Rodgers does stay. So yeah, we're taking Davante Adams at the 207, just kind of making this team a build around the bet that Aaron Rodgers is going to remain in Green Bay because I like the value. Okay, so now let's go through, and Ricky says, I just joined and I see Dalvin Cook at 5. Yeah, no, Dalvin Cook definitely needs to either be the 102 or the 103 this season. I mean, if you want to make the argument that Alvin Kamara can go ahead of him, I'm completely fine with that. But Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook is a little too rich for my blood, even though, like we said, in Dynasty, I understand it, but for 2021, I don't. Okay, so now let's go. Tyler's saying, fix my team, 10-team PPR Superflex, Stafford, Lance, Akers, Swift, Etienne, Kittle. Man, I don't need to fix your team. There's nothing wrong with that roster. That is a fantastic team to begin with. Okay, so now it looks like Jayan is back up on the clock. Jayan, please let me know in the general chat. He says, I don't mind my Taylor pick. Most running backs that are top producers rarely take over 2 seasons to be top 12 to 24 producers. So, man, you're going to have to give me a better explanation on why you passed on Dalvin at the 104, because I'm telling you, I can't get behind it, my man. And you know, I love Jonathan Taylor. Okay, so Najee Harris falling all the way down to the 211. Now, that is a running back that we were considering at the 207. I mean, in a lot of high-stakes redraft leagues currently, you are having Najee Harris as a late first-round redraft pick. Him falling all the way to the 211 is something that will very rarely happen by the time we get to the fantasy season. So I do really like that value. The other running back that I was considering at the 207 would have been Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So yeah, that value at the 301 is also fantastic. And we are going to have a video coming out on DeAndre Hopkins talking about how he is one of the safest picks in fantasy this upcoming season. So 211, I mean, that Ryan Fair team is very, very strong to start off with CMC, DeAndre Hopkins, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But it looks like Jesse is going running back with J.K. Dobbins in the 3rd round. I think J.K. Dobbins may be a little bit too rich for us there, just because you're looking at the situation where Lamar historically does not look to check down to his running backs at all. And it's understandable because you know that Lamar Jackson is going to be a quarterback that doesn't need to check it down to his running backs. I mean, worst case scenario, he can tuck it and run, and he can most likely pick up the first down regardless. So if that first read isn't there, it's not a Drew Brees scenario where he's just going to be going through his progressions, then eventually finding Alvin Kamara / J.K. Dobbins out of the backfield. No, he's going to go through his progressions, see that his first option isn't there, maybe check his second, see that his second isn't there, and then decide to tuck it and run. But Keenan Allen at the 303, really like the Keenan Allen selection as well. Okay, so Kevin says, congrats to the winners in the $500 league. Hoping I can sneak into the new one next week. Okay, so like I said, man, we are not going to be doing a $500 league giveaway every single week. I mean, I literally would have to be homeless if that was going to be the case. But definitely if we get more support over there on Patreon, we are going to be doing another one of those before the season starts off. That's either going to be probably early August because we're moving into a new studio late July. But here, very, very easy selection for us. We are going to be going with Darren Waller at the 306. Now, that historical research that we have done has shown that what you really want at the tight end position is you want to be coming away with an elite option or you want to be completely punting. Historically, over the past 10 years, the hit rates on tight ends 4 through about 10 have been atrocious. I mean, those are some of the worst picks in fantasy. And I am the guy every single season going in and falling into the OJ Howard, falling into the David Njoku, falling into the Evan Ingram, and kind of overpaying for those mid tight end ones. So I think now we try to learn our lesson here. Now we try to kind of make that pivot. And if we can get Darren Waller at the 306, I mean, I love that value. Okay, so Justin says, it's crazy how much Hopkins fell. Would have picked him over DK Metcalf, Michael Thomas, and Calvin Ridley. I would agree that I would prefer having DeAndre Hopkins over Michael Thomas, most definitely. Calvin Ridley is interesting, on the other hand, where as of now, with that rookie, not that rookie draft guide, with that 2021 fantasy draft guide, we do have Calvin Ridley ranked one spot behind DeAndre Hopkins. And Calvin Ridley is actually in a tier below where we currently have it, where Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and DeAndre Hopkins are all tier 1 wide receivers. But after doing a deep dive on what we had with Calvin Ridley last year and with Julio Jones going over to Tennessee, I mean, I'm kind of having to reconsider having Calvin Ridley in tier 2. I think Calvin Ridley, you can make the argument that he should be a tier 1 wide receiver, but I'm actually going to make a video on that very, very soon. So just make sure you're subscribed. Check that one out. Okay, JN says, and my explanation is I really don't like older running backs. I just think Taylor is going to finish higher than Dalvin Cook. I will say, man, you know, I am very low on those running backs once they get to their second contracts in Dynasty. I mean, a Derrick Henry, a Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara, and Austin Eckler, and Ezekiel Elliott, and Aaron Jones. I mean, those are players that in Dynasty, yes, I am definitely fading because when the fall off happens, it is detrimental to your roster. I mean, it's so hard to recoup that value. So, of course, we would prefer having a guy like Jonathan Taylor, having a guy like Cam Akers in a format like that. But in this league, where all we are looking for is those 2021 touches, that 2021 production, I think it's a little too rich to be going with Alvin Kamara over Jonathan Taylor. Going with Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook. Okay, Julio said, I believe Keenan Allen is a tier 1 wide receiver as well. With Keenan Allen, you could definitely make that argument. I will say that I'm going to be the first one to admit that. But now we are up on the clock, and obviously, once Mahomes goes off the board, not too excited about looking at quarterback. I think we just go with some wide receiver value, given the fact that in this format, you do need to start 3 wide receivers. You can start 2 flex spots. So y'all know, historically, I've been one to just completely punt the second running back spot in this format. I think that usually once you get to rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, historical research has shown that's the running back dead zone. And that is the area where you want to be drafting your wide receivers instead. So because of that, and because we have Chris Godwin falling down to this range, we are just going to be drafting Chris Godwin with the 407 for our wide receiver 2. And I am very excited about this start so far, where we have Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin as wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. I think that puts us ahead of the field in both scenarios. And also we have an elite tight end with Darren Waller and an elite running back 1 with Derrick Henry. So yeah, I really like that start that we have. Okay, so Jimmy says Evans over Godwin, ? Evans is TD dependent. I will say Evans with his overall ceiling is touchdown dependent, But beyond that, if you're actually looking at Mike Evans from a season to season standpoint, that is someone that you can lock into 1,000 receiving yards essentially since he came into the NFL in 2014. On a season total standpoint, he has been very reliable. Now, yes, on a week-to-week basis, it's a little bit harder to predict Mike Evans, but I think you're finding a lot of casual fantasy football players actually overrate the value of consistency that you have in your starting lineup on a week-to-week basis, not understanding that over a long sample, it's actually going to balance out slightly. So most high-stakes redraft players do have Mike Evans over Chris Godwin, which I agree with you. I mean, it's a little bit of a surprise given the fact that they do have a pretty big distance between the two, and I think they should be going back-to-back, but that's just my opinion. And now here we have that wide receiver run going. This is what you should expect in rounds 3, 4, 5, where I'm very happy we went with a Chris Godwin now because, I mean, the running backs that we'd be looking at or the quarterbacks are going to be very similar in round 5, whereas the wide receivers are seeing that massive drop off. Okay, so Alejandro says everyone is way too low on DJ Moore for your information. Yeah, man, you know I love DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore had that historical production given his age in his second season in the NFL, and he did that with atrocious quarterback play in Kyle Allen. Now, you're pretty much just betting on the upgrade with Sam Darnold, which I think I don't want to say safe to say, but it's definitely a possibility that Sam Darnold is going to be the best quarterback that you've had DJ Moore playing with in his entire NFL career. Now, yes, he's played with Cam Newton, and during Cam Newton's peak, I mean, he was an MVP. He was a fantastic quarterback. But the version of Cam Newton that DJ Moore got was arm falling off his body, Cam Newton. Can't throw the ball 20 yards, Cam Newton. So I think that's a little bit harder to look at. Since then, he's played with Kyle Allen. He has played with Teddy Bridgewater. And I know a lot of people want to make the argument, oh, well, Teddy Bridgewater's better than Sam Darnold. But to be honest, I think that's kind of crazy to say, given the fact that what you're having the Panthers go out and be willing to pay a second-round pick to make that swap and at the same time pay the entire Teddy Bridgewater contract. So I think that it's possible that DJ Moore has the best quarterback situation this upcoming season of his entire NFL career. Okay, so Paxman says the Rock 101 is winning this so far. So we have Zeke, Gibson, McLaurin, and Mahomes. Man, I don't know. I think it's very hard, in my opinion, to have Terry McLaurin over CeeDee Lamb. I understand why people want to do it. They're in that same tier. I'm happy that he got Terry McLaurin after Allen Robinson, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, because what I absolutely hate seeing is when someone decides to go with Terry McLaurin over Michael Thomas, over Keenan Allen, over Allen Robinson. And at that point, I'm viewing Terry McLaurin as one of the worst picks in fantasy. But here at the 309 is completely fine value. Now, it is interesting that he decides to stack both Washington skill positional players. I'm going to want to check out how this team looks at the very end of the draft, though. Okay, so we have an interesting decision coming up where I am not necessarily a massive fan of going running back here, but we have had such a fall off across all other positions, and more importantly, had that fall off at wide receiver, and we can't really go with tight end after we invest a third round pick into Darren Waller. So essentially we are going, do we take a wide receiver in the 5th, or do we go with Josh Jacobs? Now, y'all know I have been someone that has been completely fading Josh Jacobs this season so far. I do not think we have taken him in a single draft up to date, but the problem is, I mean, you don't see him fall this far. You don't see him go down to being a mid-5th round pick. So I think with Jacobs still on the board and with the wide receiver value soaked up, I usually 100% of the time prefer to go wide receiver here, but I think we go Jacobs. It's gross to say, but that's going to be our pick. So now we do have our running back 2, which is fine, but I mean, it's kind of just hold your nose and draft them because you know the carries are going to be there. The problem is I am a little bit questioning the overall target volume that he can see on his best season because we know that he's been a running back that hasn't been targeted at a heavy rate through his first 2 years in his NFL career so far. And throw in the fact that they go give Kenyon Drake a massive contract, I am really questioning the overall ceiling that you're going to have from Josh Jacobs. But yeah, we are going to be taking him there. And I know a lot of people want to be screaming, well, take that elite quarterback. And we have done that in almost every single mock draft so far this offseason. Where in the 5th round, I'm the guy taking Lamar Jackson. I'm the guy taking Kyler Murray. But lately, you've seen Joe Burrow. You've seen Jalen Hurts. You've seen guys that you would never believe falling to a ridiculous range in these drafts. So I kind of want to punt quarterback a little bit in this mock draft. I kind of just want to see how the team build will look that way. Okay, so let's go through and Fear of God says Chris Carson. Hey, no idea what you're saying there. Chris Carson went at the 401, my man. Cannot get Chris Carson at the 506. Okay, yeah, guys, I don't like Jacobs at all. I just think that pick is too good a value to pass up on, simply. I mean, we are never going to be looking in a range where we can get Jacobs in the middle of the 5th again, so we're going to be drafting it. We're not going to be excited about it. But yeah, that's a pick that we are going to be making. Now, also, we are so close to 100 likes on this live stream. If you have yet to drop a like on this live stream, make sure you go down there and do that. Also, I see that we have a new subscriber and new member joining the flock in Luis Rodriguez. So thank you, my man, for deciding to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Drop that like. Okay, so T. Higgins going at the 605. I would have loved to have T. Higgins on this roster. Well, now we don't have that luxury, so we are going to be having to try to make a pivot. And if we are pulling up this draft board, I mean, wide receivers just got soaked up so early here. I mean, I definitely want to go wide receiver with this team build. I mean, maybe you could have convinced me into going with the Javonte Williams if he fell to the 607 and going 3 running backs, which we never do. But at this point, I think we have to go wide receiver. And between Juju, Courtland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, none of them really stand out to me. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at either Courtland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, but the problem is when we draft Devontae Adams in the 207, we are essentially locking into this team as a build that has Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, or it's going to be behind the 8 ball. So I don't want to be even entertaining the thought process that Rodgers could be going to Denver with this specific team. And for that reason, we are going to be going with Juju Smith-Schuster here, a wide receiver that completely burnt me last year. I do not like this value at all. I am not excited about drafting Juju at the 607 because I am not very high on Juju this year as we were last year, and we were completely wrong last year. But I think given the fact that we really lock ourselves into having to go wide receiver there, given the fact that we can't really look at the Denver options, Juju is going to be the best player available on the board when we can't draft the tight end. Al Coop says, is DJ Chark on the board? Get him. No, DJ Chark went at the 512. I mean, maybe we could have decided to go with the Laviska Shenault at the 607. One of the reasons we decided to go with Juju is if you go and you look at the ADP, I mean, Laviska is so much further down where there was an actual potential that we get Laviska in the 7th, where that actually has no shot of happening with Juju Smith-Schuster in the 7th round. Okay, Jayan says, wanted Alex is a jerk. Let's see where he decided to go. He went Mark Andrews. Jayan obviously was looking at that Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack. Yeah, no, that would have been fantastic on this team, my man. Okay, fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom. Says, I would have taken Chase Claypool. With Claypool, I'm just very hesitant to go through and buy in right away. I will say that I think the best strategy to most likely take with these Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers are just take the last one. Either completely fade the wide receiver room or take who's going last between the 3 at the best value, very similar to what you have to do with the New England Patriots running backs every single season. Because right now, I mean, Deontay Johnson, in my opinion, is a much better draft pick here at the 602 than he is in most leagues. I mean, y'all know I made that video kind of trashing on Deontay Johnson earlier this week, but in the majority of formats, Deontay Johnson is a wide receiver that's going between Chris Godwin and DJ Moore, which I can never get behind. I mean, if you're going to draft Deontay Johnson in the 6th round, right around the Odell Beckham Jr., DJ Chark range, I'm completely fine with that. I'm not going to argue with that draft pick. But the problem with Deontay Johnson in most drafts is he's going way earlier than this, and you have Juju and Chase Claypool usually about 1 to 2 rounds after. So I'll say in a regular format, I think probably the strategy to have with these Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers is just to take the cheapest one. Okay, so Bago says, I like my Carson pick. People are undervaluing him. He's a solid running back too on a run-first team with the new contract. Yeah, no, I will say I am thinking about making a video calling it, I'm finally changing my stance, and including players that I've been historically too low on over the past 3 or 4 years that I like their value right now. And Chris Carson would definitely make that list because Chris Carson usually goes in the middle of the 3rd round in the majority of fantasy drafts in 2020, 2019, and 2018. And all of a sudden, you see the Seattle Seahawks decide to give Chris Carson a new contract, and he still is falling slightly in drafts. So if you can get Carson in the 4th, While last year, I probably would have told you I didn't like the pick given his limited usage in the receiving game. In 2020, Chris Carson actually began getting more targets out of the backfield, and also he fell in fantasy value. So Chris Carson is one of those players that I've been way too low on in the past, and I think we're actually starting to change our minds. And if he was there at the beginning of the 4th round, I probably would have gone with Robert Woods over him, but I understand the draft pick. Okay, so Justin Herbert going at the 701. Maybe we could have considered going with a Justin Herbert or a quarterback like that at the 607, but Aaron Rodgers going, okay, so a big strategy that we were going to have in this format is once we took Davante Adams at the 207, we were essentially making a bet that you're going to have Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback for Green Bay this upcoming season. So I was really hoping that we were going to get Rodgers at a discount later in the draft, but I mean, this comes with the nature of live streaming. I mean, obviously, everybody's kind of coming for you when you are live streaming, when you're putting these thoughts out here. So Rodgers goes way earlier than he usually goes in these drafts, and we have no shot at getting him. Okay, so Calcium Oxide says, was Travis Etienne a bad pick at the 405? So with Etienne, y'all know that I am someone that is way higher on Etienne than consensus, especially in dynasty formats. Now, in redraft leagues here at the 405, you're looking at a scenario where you had yet to have your running back 2, and the best running backs available on the draft board were Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, and Travis Etienne. Now, I will say with our 2021 rankings, tiers, and draft guide, we do have all of Travis Etienne, Miles Sanders, and Josh Jacobs in the same tier, but I definitely prefer Travis Etienne over him. In hindsight, I don't necessarily love the pick given the wide receiver run that we had right here, but you didn't know that when you were on the board, and I think taking Travis Etienne at the 405 is completely fine. Okay, so yeah, no, you've seen a massive fall off at wide receiver with Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, and Curtis Samuel all going off the board, where now, I mean, you can't really get too excited about that many of these options. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is someone that stands out here, but I honestly not a fan for Jerry Jeudy at all this upcoming season, especially given the fact that we are kind of making a bet with this team that you're going to have Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. But I think we kind of have to go wide receiver here because you go through quarterback. I see a few guys that we would like. I mean, we'd be fine with Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. I'm fine there. Tight end, we can't draft as we already went with Darren Waller. So it's either running back, and I'm not drafting any of these running backs. I mean, that would be disgusting in the 7th round. So we are having to lock ourselves into a wide receiver here. And I'm not going to go through all the names I'm considering because I'm probably going to want one of these guys to fall to us in the 8th round, but I think we go Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, another player I don't love the value with. I mean, my past 3 picks have been extremely gross. If you gave me some more time and I wasn't having to live stream, I probably would find a different way where I didn't have to draft Jerry Jeudy with this team. But drafting him as my wide receiver 4, I'm not going to be too grossed out by it. Mike Davis available. In hindsight, we should have gone with Mike Davis. I thought Mike Davis was already drafted. That's the price to pay when you're live streaming, when you're checking the chat, when everything's going on here. So yeah, we should have gone with Mike Davis. That is a much better pick over Jerry Jeudy. Congrats on that value, Grimmy. Yeah, that is really nice. Okay, so Paxman says, don't disrespect the most consistent fantasy wide receiver in Brandon Cooks. Man, no, I love Brandon Cooks. I mean, back when we started Dynasty in 2014, Brandon Cooks came out in that draft class with a great profile. Not only did he have the elite speed, but also in college, he broke out at 18.0 years old. I mean, he literally got to college while some people were still in high school, and he broke out and was an impact player. So I love Brandon Cooks in Dynasty back in 2014 in that rookie class. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Brandon Cooks. I actually had him as my Twitter avatar for about 2 years whenever I was just kind of someone that was playing Dynasty on the low. So yeah, I love Brandon Cooks. I will say that. Yeah, that Mike Davis value was fantastic in the middle of the 7th round. Congrats. And it's just making me look so stupid by taking Jerry Jeudy right ahead of him. Okay, so Jesse says, is Rodgers too far of a reach there? I just wanted a quarterback that's able to produce consistently. Not necessarily, because you already have a very balanced team. I probably was just being a little bit salty saying that it was a reach because we wanted to get him probably in the 8th round. I will say when you're picking at the ends, like here, if you're picking, just say at the 101 or the 102 or the 111 and the 112, your pick on the second way around, it's hard to call anything a reach given the fact that you're looking at it in a sense that you're not going to have another pick for another 20 picks. So if you have a guy that you really want and you think there's no shot he makes it back to you, then you are going to have to take him ahead of ADP, even if you don't necessarily like it. That's one benefit about drafting at the 705, 706, 707 is here you can try to stay a little bit more balanced and you can just go with that value. But yeah, no, I want to kind of walk my way back in saying that Rodgers went way too early here, given the fact that, I probably am just salty because I wanted him. Okay. So 120 likes on this live stream. Thank you so much, my dudes. Okay, so Andrew says, do you like that Boyd value? Okay, so let me see where Tyler Boyd went. Tyler Boyd at the 710, I'm fine with it. I definitely prefer Robbie Anderson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy. I prefer all the wide receivers that went ahead of him. Any guys afterwards? Not necessarily. I mean, the problem with Tyler Boyd is where's the path to real upside? Where's the path to a real league-winning type player? I simply don't see one, given the fact that very likely he is going to be the wide receiver 3 on this team. I mean, can you paint a picture where Tyler Boyd ever is second on this team in targets? He's going to be the wide receiver 3 by a wide margin. T. Higgins is going to be a much better end zone option at the same time. So I don't really see Tyler Boyd having much usage in their red zone. So Tyler Boyd, he's a high floor pick, but very low ceiling. Okay, Yield Faith says, is the drawing today just for the free entry or all of them? Did I miss it already? Man, you did miss it, and you won the drawing. You did not win the free spot, but you won one of the paid spots. You are in the league, my man. At least I believe so. Maybe you won the free spot. No, I think you won the, I think you were the first person to win a paid spot, but you got that invite into the league. Okay, Jayan says, Hunt and Mike Davis, round 6 and 7, well played. So let's pull up this team from Grimmy. I will say that I really do like this team. I mean, because you were looking at it and maybe saying that Russell Wilson is a little bit of a reach, but what you have here is you have that stack with DK Metcalf, and you come and backfill with these running backs here. This is, I think, the best team in the draft so far. I mean, Grimmy came away and absolutely smashed this, especially with that Michael Carter pick at the 806. Okay, so now let's go through. And at quarterback, there are still so many solid options that I'm honestly not even going to consider drafting one in this round. Now, I think we look wide receiver, and given the fact that we are drafting our 5th wide receiver here, I think we just shoot for straight upside, and we are going to be going with the player that I think has a nice combination of floor and ceiling. We're going to be going with Michael Gallup at the 807. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like that pick, but Michael Gallup was actually more productive than both CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper at the end of the season last year. Now, no, I am not saying that Michael Gallup is the better wide receiver. Obviously, you prefer having both CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper in fantasy this upcoming season. What I am saying is the target tree for this offense is going to be very condensed between the 3 wide receivers, and nobody's going to be surprised if Dak Prescott leads the NFL this year in passing. So I really like getting a core piece in there. And if you had an injury to either Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup has shown the ability to play all over the football field where he could eventually see that elite level ceiling. Okay. So Shenko says Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson. I completely agree. In a vacuum, I want Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson. But here with Grimmy, he decided to take DK Metcalf in the 2nd round. And I think when you spend a 2nd round pick on DK Metcalf, taking Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson isn't necessarily a super easy choice. I think at that point, they are kind of neck and neck, and you're just betting, do I like the player that's a little bit better in a vacuum, or do I like the roster construction that I get by stacking my quarterback with my wide receiver too? So yeah, it's easy to say when you didn't take that didn't take DK Metcalf, but when you did, I think it's a little bit harder. Now, I will say, if you came away with DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, this team would look even better, but of course, that's a little bit of hindsight bias here. Okay, so Paxman says, I know Wanted Alex was sweating that he was about to have more snipe from him. So Wanted Alex going and getting Elijah Moore. So, guys, let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think of my pick of going with Michael Gallup over Elijah Moore. Was that too aggressive in that instance? I know Michael Gallup is a little bit further down in ADP, but I love Michael Gallup in fantasy this year, especially as a wide receiver 5, because he's someone you can play confidently in a bye week. And we already said that he does have that ceiling if you did have an injury to either CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper. Now, you have Mike Williams, Jarvis Landry, Michael Pittman all going off at the wide receiver position, and Melvin Gordon at running back. So Melvin Gordon, someone that if you're going to pull up that draft guide that I have, I mean, I am so much lower on Melvin Gordon than consensus. I think that Javonte Williams has a role day one. I think that's one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So I really want nothing to do with the committee running back at best in Melvin Gordon on a bad offense. So the 8-10, I know it looks like great value compared to ADP, but I'm not necessarily that excited about it. Okay, so Al Coop says the team with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CMC, and Nuke is unreal. Okay, so let's pull this up. Okay, so CMC, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Chase Edmonds at running back. Wide receiver, Hopkins, Kupp, Lockett, Pittman, Malcolm Brown. Quarterback, Justin Herbert. Yeah, no, that is a stacked roster. I really like that team as well. I will say that maybe going with the Dallas Goedert over Malcolm Brown would have been a better call given the construction of the roster, given the fact that you're probably going to see a tight end run happen at least a little bit coming soon, and Dallas Goedert was the last tight end in that tier for me. So we probably would have taken Dallas Goedert with one of those last two picks, but that is a fantastic start. Okay, so Paxman says Gallup is better on the team. I like him in redraft more than Moore. Yeah, I mean, in Dynasty, I think you do prefer having Elijah Moore, but I am actually concerned with Elijah Moore, a player that I really, really was excited about in Dynasty rookie drafts this past year. I'm concerned with Jamison Crowder coming back. I mean, I think that Jamison Crowder does take snaps in the slot, and I think that kind of limits the overall ceiling that you can be seeing from Elijah Moore on a snap share percentage this upcoming season, and really everything to go along with that. Okay, so now we are going to be looking and having some flexibility here. Now, wide receiver just got soaked up in this draft. I mean, we don't have to continue going with wide receiver. We have 5 of them already. Maybe we look to go quarterback here. But the problem is if we decided to go quarterback, so there's only 4 teams left without a quarterback, including ourselves. So if we are deciding to go QB, there are about 5 quarterbacks that I see in that same tier for me. Actually, we still go quarterback here. Yeah, Deshaun Watson going at the 905. I think we are going to decide to go QB. It's going to be down between Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts and Ryan Tannehill for us. Now, Jalen Hurts, I know he's not going to come close to the other guys and what you're finding with his passing volume. But given the fact that we took Derrick Henry in the first, I think we kind of make a bet that you have an elite season from the overall Tennessee Titans offense where possibly Julio Jones unlocks it and allows them to be top 3 in scoring. So I think we give the tiebreaker in this tier of Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, and Ryan Tannehill over to Ryan Tannehill, taking him at the 906. Possibly we could have gotten Tannehill if we waited to take him in the 10th, but I do like that value, especially when we did decide to draft Derrick Henry. Okay, Paxman saying stack Brady with Chris Godwin. Now, I am not a massive fan of Tom Brady at all this upcoming season. The problem with Tom Brady is he has no rushing upside at all in fantasy, which is completely fine if you're playing in a 6-point passing touchdown league or if you're playing in a league where you get 1 point per 20 passing yards. But the standard 4-point passing touchdown, 1 point per 25 passing yards, having at the very minimum a baseline level of production that you could expect with the Ryan Tannehill, who can hit 300 rushing yards on a season, is going to raise your overall ceiling and floor so much that I think Tannehill is going to be a quarterback that we like having a little bit more than Brady. Okay, so now let's go through, and Al Coop says, chat messed up. I meant to say Adam Troutman, a solid guy, super late as a second tight end. Yeah, I mean, Adam Troutman, I know a lot of people want to go through and hype him up based on the talent profile that he has, based on his size and athleticism. I'll say what's a little bit more exciting about Adam Troutman is the fact that there is nobody to throw the ball to right now in New Orleans. I mean, you have Michael Thomas, you have Alvin Kamara, and beyond that, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook are gone. And this was a wide receiver room that was extremely thin to begin with. And we know that if Jameis Winston is the starter, that's a quarterback that led the NFL in passing 2 years ago. Now, I understand he did so with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bruce Arians, O.J. Howard. So it's a little bit of a different situation. But nonetheless, I mean, there is passing volume to be had in New Orleans. So I think if you can try to figure out who's going to be getting targets there, that's a place you can be profitable. Okay, so now let's go through, and Paxman says, calling it now, Rugger is taking Brady at the end of the 9th. Okay, so let's see. Rugger has taken McCole Hardman so far, and then he goes with James Conner. No, man, you were wrong. I'll say at this point, both wanted Alex and I take QB. I mean, these guys are going to be able to wait just because they'll have the luxury. There's really nobody else in this draft that is looking at a starting quarterback. I mean, maybe people decide to start taking their second if they perceive it to be great value. But yeah, I think that it's not necessarily a bad call at all by Rugger to decide to pass on QB yet again there. Okay, so Kai5 says the Eagles offense gonna rake. Watch. Don't know what the Eagles offense is gonna rake means, my dude. Please let me know. I know if you call someone a rake in a fantasy draft, then I mean, yeah, they are just paying the rake. They are just donating their money to the league pot. But I don't know what an offense gonna rake means. So I'm not hip with the slang. Aaron Law coming out, my man. Happy to see you in the live stream. Thank you for coming and making it. Okay, so Marvin Jones, Henry Ruggs, Damian Harris, all going off the board here. So y'all know I am on record saying that people hyping up Damian Harris as an 8th round pick to be next to Michael Carter, Trey Sermon. I mean, I can't get behind that at all. I think you do want to be taking the wide receivers, guys like a Michael Gallup, a Jalen Waddle, a Robbie Anderson, all those wide receivers over Damian Harris. But if you're getting them here after Henry Ruggs, Marvin Jones, McCole Hardman, Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore are all off the board, I'm completely fine with that Damian Harris value. Okay, Jay Knight coming out as well. My man, happy that you were able to make it in the live stream. And yeah, we are probably going to, I don't want to say beat our live stream record for this offseason in likes. Y'all know during the season, I mean, there was live streams that we had over 1,000 people watching live, which was crazy. It wasn't every night, but it was pretty often. And obviously just during the offseason, the traffic is not there. So thank you so much, guys, for still coming out, still supporting the channel. And as our wide receiver 6, we're just shooting for upside. We're taking Rashad Bateman. A very, very easy call for us there. I mean, I would easily have Rashad Bateman over Cole Beasley. I'd have him over Devontae Parker. And then I think over Marvin Jones as well. Henry Ruggs, there you can make an argument that they're in the same tier. But Rashad Bateman in the middle of the 10th, I am completely fine with. Yeah, no, Grimmy absolutely killed this draft, guys. I think here, I would have probably pivoted over after you take Michael Carter and you have 3 running backs to hit the wide receiver position a little bit more. Maybe not draft Devin Singletary at the 907 and instead get a McCole Hardman, a Darnell Mooney, a Rondale Moore, Henry Ruggs. And I definitely would have drafted Cole Beasley. Don't like that pick at all, given the fact that Cole Beasley is a very limited upside player. I think Rashad Bateman makes so much more sense when you're playing for ceiling in fantasy. But yeah, I mean, that start that he had through round 8 is unquestionably fantastic. So Coleman says, would you prefer having Julio Jones or CeeDee Lamb? I mean, you definitely want to have CeeDee Lamb over Julio Jones. It doesn't matter if it's dynasty. It doesn't matter if it's just for 2021. I mean, it's the answer is CeeDee Lamb quite easily. I mean, maybe I'm just irrationally high on CeeDee Lamb, but I currently have CeeDee Lamb, I believe, as a top 12 wide receiver in our redraft rankings. Okay, so I will say Adam Troutman, after we get done talking about him, does go here in the 10th round. Now, this is a range where we can decide to draft another quarterback if we want, because, I mean, I am completely fine drafting our quarterback 2 when you have Naheem Hines, Adam Troutman, Sterling Shepard, all going off the board at this point. I mean, if we could get a Trevor Lawrence, a Joe Burrow, a Matthew Stafford, a Jalen Hurts, I mean, I think that is a pick that we would be excited about, so be on the lookout for that coming back to us with the 1106. Okay, Kai5 says, you like Juju this year, contract year thinking or what? No, man, my Juju pick, I did not enjoy making at all. I mean, it was very difficult just because we saw that massive fall off at wide receiver after T. Higgins. We were hoping T. Higgins fell to us, and we were in a spot where we were wanting to wait on quarterback because we wanted to get a Ryan Tannehill a little later. And on top of that, I mean, we can't go with a Mark Andrews as we already drafted Darren Waller in the 3rd round. So we kind of locked ourselves into taking a wide receiver, and we were in a range where it was either Juju, Laviska Shenault, Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton. And it's not like Juju is an easy answer there. So no, don't think I am nearly as high on Juju this year as I was last year, because yes, last year I was way too high on Juju Smith-Schuster. This was more so I was put in a difficult decision. Very similar to Jerry Jeudy. That Jerry Jeudy selection we made at the 706, I'm not happy about at all. I mistakenly thought that Mike Davis was already drafted, and we were kind of placed in a hard decision with Jalen Waddle, Robbie Anderson, and Tyler Boyd all in that range. Okay, so now let's go. Mike says, I would for sure rather have Keenan than Jefferson in redraft and maybe Michael Thomas as well. Okay, so James says, how do we get our team broken down over on Patreon? Please ignore my profile pic. Okay, man. Okay, so yeah, if you want your team broken out over on Patreon, literally just shoot me a DM on Patreon. Say, hey, Mason, can you break down my team? And I probably can't get you a podcast out tonight, but I mean, it's a very quick turnaround. I mean, as soon as you decide to support the channel over there on Patreon, I do go through and either that same day or the next day, you have a podcast coming down, breaking down your actual team. And yeah, of course, just once you decide to join over there on Patreon, or if you are already a Patreon supporter, all you have to do is shoot me a DM and I will walk you through all of the steps. Okay, so Dre says, so what's up with the Deshaun Watson pick? Honestly, I'm not even going to trash the Watson pick. I will say I think you could have waited a little bit later on. But with Deshaun Watson in particular in redraft leagues, I mean, if you're coming to the end of your fantasy draft, I mean, especially if we got to round 11, round 12, I mean, I think Deshaun Watson is a fantastic pick. If you're drafting at this time of the year, what you have to understand is that turnover at the very end of your draft, I mean, the players you're drafting in rounds 14, 13, 12, I mean, there's a decent chance that those players hit the waiver to start the season when you have a Myles Gaskin, when you have a James Robinson popping off. So what you want is you want players that you're going to know exactly what to do with. I mean, when you draft a guy like a T.Y. Hilton, he's just going to be kind of a roster clogger. You never know if you're going to want to cut him or hold him. But in the case of Deshaun Watson, it's going to be very, very easy in fantasy drafts this year. In the case of Deshaun Watson, you know if he's playing, well, hell, we get to start a quarterback one in fantasy. And if he's suspended, then hey, no biggie. Let's just drop him. Let's get that waiver wire option we like. So I really like Deshaun Watson late in fantasy drafts this year. I don't necessarily know about this value where he went in the 9th round. But yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson, I'm completely fine taking. Now, stacking him with Joe Burrow obviously is perfect here. And with the massive, massive fall off that we have had at wide receiver, and actually, I think we go running back. We're going running back here. And now that we think a little bit more about it, because I know that usually we are continuing to go with the wide receivers in this range. But A.J. Dillon, just a massive human with a ton of upside as our running back 3 here. I'm going to be very excited about that. I mean, wide receivers got soaked up in this draft. I mean, you should never see Devin Duvernay, T.Y. Hilton, Sterling Shepard going over Kenyon Drake. I mean, that is absurd. I could make the argument that in a regular league, I would prefer Kenyon Drake over A.J. Dillon. But here, when we decide to draft a Devontae Adams in the 2nd round, we make that bet already that Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay. And when we decide to draft a Josh Jacobs in the 5th round, we made that bet already that Josh Jacobs was going to be able to be a running back that stayed healthy through the season. So the last thing I want to be doing is hedging on those bets. I want to be just doubling down on them, getting that correlation in the starting lineup. And that's how you construct a roster that has that upside. So we're taking Kenyon Drake at the 1106, although I do love the value. I'm sorry, we're taking A.J. Dillon at the 1106, although I do love the value with Kenyon Drake at the 1107. Okay, so Jan says, excuse me, sir, after taking Devin Duvernay in the 11th round, and I was calling it a trash pick. Man, that is a trash pick. You can't be taking Devin Duvernay over Joe Burrow, A.J. Dillon, Kenyon Drake, and Tony Pollard. Okay, let's go through. He says, I took Duvernay for a damn good reason. Man, I will say that if there's any former UT wide receiver that I'm getting excited about this upcoming season, obviously besides Colin Johnson, it's going to be Little Jordan Humphrey. I mean, we just got done talking about the Saints having absolutely nobody in New Orleans. Little Jordan Humphrey, hey, someone that's been on the practice squad as of late, maybe he gets snaps this upcoming season, which will also be very exciting. So he says he decided to take Duvernay to stack with Lamar Jackson. I understand it, my dude, but I mean, you could have gotten Duvernay in the 14th. Okay, so Trent says, is this a redraft or dynasty and roster setting? So this is a redraft league where you are starting 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex spots. So here is the full board. Let me pull this over real quick, and I will hide my little screen. That way y'all can see what is going on. Okay, so this is the full draft board. This is where we decided to go, where our running back room is Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, A.J. Dillon. Our wide receiver room is Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Juju, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Gallup, and Rashad Bateman. At tight end, we have Darren Waller, and at quarterback, we have Ryan Tannehill. Now, in rounds 5, 6, 7, I am not that excited about those picks. I mean, those picks were more so we were just in a situation where there was nobody that stood out to us, and we just kind of took the value that was falling. So not my favorite draft, but I think we can look at it as something that we are fine with. Now, obviously, Rugger decides to kill us all with his quarterback draft strategy and going with Matthew Stafford and Trey Lance with the 11th and 12th round selections. I mean, man, that is fantastic. Congrats on just completely annihilating us all. Now, I think we have an easy selection if it comes back up to us with this next guy that we are going to be going with. Okay, so now let's go through. Porter says, can I play in this? Okay, so this is actually a mock draft, my man. So I will say that we are going to be doing a lot more actual real fantasy leagues, especially when we get closer to the season. They're all going to be live streamed on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed if you are not already for whatever reason. And yes, you can play in leagues with us. That's all going to be hosted through Patreon. So make sure you go support the show on Patreon. Let me know if you're going to want in a league, and I'll inform you on how we are going to be doing that closer to the year. Okay, JN says, RIP Foreman's running back one chance. Did Donta Foreman get cut, my man? Let me pull this up real quick. I have not seen anything. I DM'd Donta Foreman the other day on Twitter, hoping that he would get back to me and come on for a interview, but no, he ignored me. He ignored me. Sadly. I mean, not surprisingly, but it happened. Okay, Donta Foreman, let's look this up on Twitter, see if we can get anything. Okay, so the last the last tweet about Donta Foreman actually came from us, so obviously I have no idea what's going on here. Dre says, I want in the next Best Ball live draft. I will be joining Patreon this week as well. I'm going to need some Best Ball strats in daily fantasy. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for deciding to support the show. And this is actually not a best ball draft right here, my man. This is just a mock draft. Okay, but crap, we are on the clock right here. And I think we actually just go with a quarterback too when we have him fall to us. I think we go with a Trever Lawrence in the 12th round. Usually I'm not a massive fan of deciding to draft a second quarterback. And usually I'll just kind of bet with the one we have or play waivers. But when you get Trever Lawrence in the 12th round, I'm going to be excited about that. I would prefer Jalen Hurts though. Okay. But anyway, Dre, yes, no, man, this is not a best ball league, but I promise you, we are going to be doing, definitely, I'm going to be hosting those best ball leagues. It's going to be over on Patreon. And yeah, I will hopefully have something going on with daily fantasy when we get to the season, but no guarantees on that for now. Okay, so Trent says top 3 tight ends this year. I think Kelsey continues even at 31. So yes, my top 3 rankings at tight end for this upcoming season are going to be Travis Kelsey at 1, Darren Waller at 2, and George Kittle at 3. If you pull up our dynasty rankings, it's a little bit opposite. It's George Kittle at 1, Darren Waller at 2, and Travis Kelsey at 3. But yeah, if we were just talking 2021 fantasy, I mean, I think we do have to drop George Kittle just slightly with the rookie quarterback and also with the target competition that simply is non-existent in Las Vegas right now. Okay, so guys, we are so close to 150 likes on this live stream. Please, if you have not already, go down there, drop that like, and please, Jan, let me know. He says, DM Marcus Johnson, he's done it with a past YouTuber. And he says, Jan says, last I saw, he tried out for the Seahawks. Oh my gosh. Donta Foreman playing with Russell Wilson would just be beautiful, but obviously the chances of that happen are very, very slim. So let me go through. I saw that we had some people subscribing to the channel. Let me give them some shout outs real quick. Justice subscribing, my man over there supporting the show on Patreon and was not even subscribed to the channel. What are you doing? Ryan, Daniel, Connor, Mike, Herloff, and Luis all subscribing during this live stream. Thank you, my dudes. Now, JN does decide to go with the respect pick in Little Jordan Humphrey in the 13th round. Guys, do not be drafting Little Jordan Humphrey in your own fantasy drafts. I was saying that just because I'm an excited fanboy. That's not actual advice. But yeah, we are going to be up on the clock here. Can't really go quarterback. We can really go running back, wide receiver, tight end if we want. I mean, at tight end now, when we get this late in the draft, I am fine drafting someone if we perceive them to be a value. I do like Evan Ingram, but let's just double check to see if there are any wide receivers that we would consider drafting. So yeah, no, I think we take our second tight end here. I think we do decide to go with Evan Ingram. And Paxman subscribing to the channel just now. Are you kidding me? My man, after coming out to so many live streams, after being in those video premieres. Anyway, happy to see you subscribe. Now let's pull this down. That way y'all can see the entire draft board. Okay. So now let's go through and Jayan says, what do you think of Hines as a Taylor handcuff? Naheem Hines is not a Jonathan Taylor handcuff at all. I mean, they're playing in 2 completely different roles. And if you had a Jonathan Taylor injury, you're not necessarily expecting Naheem Hines to see a massive bump up in the amount of touches he's getting per game just because they're 2 completely different running backs. It doesn't even matter if Marlon Mack is not healthy for this upcoming season, because in that case, they're just going to be giving the ball to Jordan Wilkins and splitting the backfield with Naheem Hines. I mean, Hines is not a running back backup. He has his own role on this team that's really not going to be changing. Maybe he sees some more snaps, but it's not like he's a Rashad Penny or Tony Pollard that all of a sudden goes into a 3-down role. Now, Terrace Marshall at the 1309, I do really like that pick. Okay, so Dre says, we are the original members, been here since it was the trash cell phone camera. Yes or no? I remember Dre definitely coming out to all of the live streams last football season. Gabriel Davis, really like that pick as well. So I will say, guys, if y'all think this is an upgrade from what we had last football season, I cannot wait until y'all see our new studio that literally we are moving into, I believe, July 25th. So a little less than a month, pretty much exactly a month from now. And that studio was made 100% possible by everybody supporting the show over there on Patreon. So I owe y'all a massive, massive thank you. And I literally can't wait to go move into it, because right now I am just in a tiny apartment in downtown Austin. And I'm excited to be in a space where I just enjoy working a little bit more, because I already enjoy working, but it's going to be even better. Okay, so now let's go. Jay Nye says Jayen's next pick is going to be Sam Ehlinger. Maybe he goes Shane Buechele, but it's gonna be someone like that. Now, Sammy Watkins coming in here. So let's look around. Maybe we just go with an elite running back handcuff, because right now, how many wide receivers do we have? We have 5 wide receivers. We have 6 wide receivers. We can take a 7th wide receiver, honestly, quite easily, given this format, given the fact that you start 3 and you also go through and have to flex 2. Actually, wide receivers, Bryan Edwards is really the only guy that stands out to me here. I guess we did make the bet on that Raiders offense with the Josh Jacobs, but that's not necessarily too correlated. I think given this being our last round pick, we just go with the Chuba Hubbard, understanding that if anything did happen to Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard would have upside to become what you had with a player like, just say, Mike Davis last season. So yeah, we're going to be taking Chuba Hubbard there at the 1407. Okay, so now let's go through and Ian says, congrats on your success. We wouldn't be here if you didn't give us good content. No, man, I promise you, I would not be here if y'all, we have over 150 likes on the live stream right now. We had over 100 people join the flock on Patreon this month. Y'all are ridiculous with the amount of support that y'all show. I promise you, we're going to be over 100,000 flock members, part of the subscriber gang, by the time we get to the end of the season. That is a guarantee. I'm going to continue once we get to the season to live stream every single night. I will be live streaming every single night this football season, and I'll be making multiple videos every single day. I promise you that. So the grind is just now starting. I promise you, this channel is going to look completely different 12 months from now with all the support that y'all have shown. Okay, Fear of God is saying, take Darrell Henderson late in the draft. You won't regret it. Yeah, no, man, I promise you, I've made so many videos pumping up Darrell Henderson. I love Darrell Henderson as a handcuff type running back. In the 12th round, he was fantastic value there. But I think that we decided to go with the quarterback, which is completely understandable, given the fact that Trevor Lawrence did fall to the mid-12th. Okay, so here, let me hide this video real quick, and we can slide this screen up so everybody can see the draft board before we end this live stream. But yeah, if you are joining this late and you entered to be in the Flock Patreon giveaway for that $500 league, we did the drawing at the beginning of the live stream. I will be shooting out those DMs over on Patreon in literally just 5 minutes. So if you want to watch it, go back to the beginning of this live stream. And of course, guys, thank you all so much for coming out, supporting the channel. And yeah, I will definitely see y'all with a video tomorrow. And thank you so much for everything y'all do.